Jinwoo's mother pulled the trigger again, this time aimed at his head. Stop! Jinwoo lunged forward, throwing himself between his mother and his father. Don't kill him. Not like this. His mother's eyes were cold, emotionless. Why not? He killed me 25 years ago. Erased me. Made me nothing. Give me one reason why he deserves to live. Because if you kill him, you become him. And I didn't survive all this just to watch you turn into the monster he was. The gun trembled in her hand. Around them, the chaos had paused. 50 people watching this family drama unfold in real time. You don't understand what he took from me, his mother whispered. Then tell me. Tell me everything. The truth. All of it. Jinwoo's voice was steady. But put down the gun first. Please. His mother looked at him. Really looked at him. For the first time in 25 years. And slowly, she lowered the weapon. But then his father laughed through the pain, blood soaking his expensive suit. You think this is over? You think she came back out of love? Ask her about the Seoul incident. Ask her what she did 3 years ago. Jinwoo's mother went pale. What is he talking about? Jinwoo demanded. Nothing. He's lying. Am I? His father's smile was vicious. Tell him about the warehouse fire. Tell him about the 15 people who died. Tell him who really started it. Welcome back to True Soul Stories. This is it, the final episode of this series. If you've been with us since part 1, you know this story has taken you through absolute hell. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared you for how this ends. If you're curious about whether Jinwoo and Naomi get their happy ending, whether his mother gets her revenge, whether they all survive what's coming, you need to watch until the very end. Hit that subscribe button right now because after this finale, I'm dropping another story that's going to make this one look tame. But first, let's finish what we started. Let's get into it. 30 minutes earlier, the explosion had torn through the traditional hanok like a bomb, sending debris and smoke everywhere. 20 armed contractors had stormed through, weapons blazing, clearly hired to massacre everyone in the building. But they hadn't counted on Jinwoo's security team being former military. Hadn't counted on half the families having their own armed guards. Hadn't counted on a room full of criminals who'd survived decades of gang wars. The contractors were good, but they were outnumbered and outgunned by people who had more experience with violence than they could imagine. Within 5 minutes, the attackers were either dead or fleeing into the Seoul night. And then she had appeared. Jinwoo's mother walked through the blown-out wall like a queen entering her kingdom. She was in her 50s now, but still striking. Tall, elegant, radiating danger and purpose. She wore all black, tactical gear underneath designer clothes. Professional. Prepared. Hello, husband, she'd said to Jinwoo's father. Then shot him in the leg without hesitation. Now, with the gun lowered but still in her hand, with Jinwoo standing between them, the room held its breath. Everyone out, Madame Choi commanded with the authority of someone who'd survived 8 decades of mafia politics. This is a family matter now. All non-family members, leave immediately. The other families didn't need to be told twice. They fled, grateful to escape what was clearly about to become very complicated and very dangerous. Within minutes, only a handful of people remained. Jinwoo, Naomi, Jinwoo's father, bleeding on the floor. His mother, still holding the gun loosely. Kong and 2 guards. And Madame Choi, who refused to leave her own property. Now, Madame Choi said, settling into a chair like she was about to watch theater. Someone explain what the hell is happening. Start with you. She pointed at Jinwoo's mother. You're supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be a lot of things, Jinwoo's mother said, her voice bitter with decades of resentment. Dead was just one of them. Mom, Jinwoo said, and the word felt foreign on his tongue after 25 years. I watched them bury you. I was 5 years old. I remember crying at your grave. I remember the funeral. The flowers. Everything. You buried someone. Not me. His mother finally holstered her weapon. Your father staged my death after I refused to follow his orders. After I tried to take you and run to America to save you from this life. Jinwoo's father laughed through his pain, the sound wet and cruel. You were going to steal my heir. Take him away from his destiny. I had no choice. You always have a choice. You chose power over family, over love, over everything that actually matters. His mother's hands clenched into fists. I loved you. I gave you a son. And you threw me away like garbage the moment I became inconvenient. You were trying to make him weak, filling his head with American ideas about choice and freedom and feelings. His father spat blood onto the expensive floor. He was meant to lead, to be strong, to take over an empire. not to be some soft, emotional fool. He was 5 years old. His mother's voice cracked with emotion. He was a child who needed his mother. But you couldn't let that happen. So you gave me an ultimatum. Leave and never come back, or watch my entire family die. My mother, my sister, my nephew, everyone I loved. Jinwoo felt like he'd been punched in the chest. What? He showed me photos. Surveillance footage. Proof that he had people watching them 24/7. Said if I ever tried to contact you, if I ever came back, he'd kill them all and make it look like accidents. His mother's voice was hollow, haunted. So I left, went into hiding, changed my name to Yuna-chun. Spent 25 years watching you from a distance, hating myself for abandoning you, but knowing it was the only way to keep everyone alive. You didn't abandon me, Jinwoo said quietly, processing this revelation. He took you from me. Same result. You grew up without a mother. Became exactly what he wanted. A cold, calculating crime lord. His mother looked at Naomi with something like gratitude. Until you fell in love with a maid and remembered you were human. Naomi stepped forward cautiously. Mrs. Park. Don't call me that. That name died 25 years ago. I'm Yuna. Just Yuna. She studied Naomi with sharp, assessing eyes. You're the reason I came back. When I heard about the wedding, about the assassination attempt, about you taking a bullet for my son, I knew. I knew you were different. Real. Worth saving. You staged the attack tonight. Jinwoo realized, pieces clicking into place. The contractors. That was you. I had to get everyone in one room. Had to create chaos so I could get to him without his guards interfering. Yuna looked at her husband with pure hatred. I've spent 25 years planning this. Building resources. Making connections. Waiting for the perfect moment. To kill me, Jinwoo's father said, almost admiringly. To expose you. To make sure everyone knew what you really are. A monster who values power over his own family. Yuna pulled out a flash drive. I have everything. Every crime. Every betrayal. Every person you've had killed. 25 years of evidence. That's when Jinwoo's father dropped his bombshell. Ask her about the Seoul incident. Ask her what she did 3 years ago. Yuna's face went white. What is he talking about? Jinwoo demanded, looking between them. Nothing. He's lying. Trying to manipulate you like he always does. Am I? His father's smile was vicious despite the pain. Tell him about the warehouse fire in Gangnam. Tell him about the 15 people who died. Tell him who really started it. Shut up, Yuna hissed. She burned down one of my warehouses 3 years ago, trying to hurt me financially, trying to weaken me. But there were workers inside, people with families. They all died. His father's eyes gleamed with malice. Your mother isn't the innocent victim she's pretending to be. She's a murderer. Jinwoo felt the ground shift beneath him. Is that true? It was an accident, Yuna said, her voice breaking. I didn't know anyone was inside. I thought it was empty. I checked the schedules, the security logs, everything. But he'd changed the shifts without recording it. Set me up. Prove it, Jinwoo's father challenged. Show me evidence that I set you up. You can't. Because you didn't check carefully enough. You were so focused on hurting me that you didn't care about collateral damage. That's not true, isn't it? You've spent 25 years building resources, making connections, gathering intelligence. You became just like me. Just as ruthless. Just as willing to sacrifice innocent people for your goals. His father's laugh was triumphant. The only difference between us is that I'm honest about what I am. Madame Choi stood, her presence commanding attention. Enough. Both of you. She looked at Yuna. Is what he's saying true? Did you start that fire? Yes. But I didn't know anyone was inside. I swear. Yuna's hands were shaking. I've lived with that guilt for 3 years. Every day, every night. Their faces haunt me. Guilt doesn't bring back the dead, Madame Choi said coldly. 15 people. That's not a small mistake. I know what I did. I've tried to make amends. Found their families. Set up trust funds anonymously. Paid for their children's education. Medical expenses. Housing. Everything I could think of. It doesn't fix anything, but I tried. You tried to buy forgiveness, Jinwoo's father sneered. Just like you tried to buy your way back into our son's life by playing hero tonight. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? You show up dramatically. Save the day. Make yourself look like the victim and me like the villain. But we're both villains, Yuna. The only difference is that Jinwoo knows what I am. He doesn't know what you are. Jinwoo looked at his mother, really looked at her, and saw the truth in her eyes. The guilt, the shame, the desperate need for redemption. Is that why you came back? He asked quietly. To make yourself feel better about what you've done? No. I came back because you're my son and you were in danger. I came back because Yuna gestured to Naomi, reminded me what real love looks like. What it means to sacrifice for someone without expecting anything in return. But you did make mistakes. You did kill people, even if it was an accident. Yes, I did, and I'll live with that forever. Yuna's voice was steady now, accepting. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm just asking for a chance to be part of your life. To know my son. To help protect the family you're building. Family. Jinwoo's father laughed bitterly. That's rich. You talk about family while standing over your husband with a gun. You stopped being my husband the day you faked my death. You stopped being his father the day you tried to have him killed. Yuna's voice was steel. We're not family. We're just people who used to be connected by law and blood. That connection is dead. Madam Choi held up her hand. Give me the flash drive. All of it. If what you say is true about his crimes, the council needs to review it. Properly. According to our laws. Yuna hesitated, then handed over the flash drive. Madam Choi plugged it into a laptop one of the guards provided. Her expression grew darker with each file she opened, each document she reviewed. The room waited in tense silence. This is extensive, detailed, damning. She looked at Jinwoo's father with disgust. You've been operating outside council authority for decades. Unauthorized hits, embezzlement, deals with foreign organizations that violate our treaties, arms trafficking, human trafficking. I did what was necessary to stay powerful. You did what was necessary to stay rich. There's a difference. Madam Choi closed the laptop with finality. The council will need to review this formally. But based on what I'm seeing, you'll be stripped of all titles and protection. At minimum, you can't do this. I just did. You're finished. Madam Choi looked at Jinwoo. Which brings us to you. What do you want? I want out. Completely out. I want to take my legitimate businesses, my money, and walk away from all of this. Jinwoo took Naomi's hand, grounding himself in her presence. I want to build a life that's mine. Not inherited. Not obligated. Mine. And the family business? Dissolve it. Sell it. Distribute it to the other families. I don't care. I'm done with all of it. You can't just walk away. His father struggled to sit up despite his injury. You're my heir. My legacy. I'm not your heir. I'm not your legacy. I'm not your anything anymore. Jinwoo's voice was final, decisive. You lost the right to call me your son when you murdered my mother and lied to me for 25 years. I didn't murder her. She's standing right there. You killed who she was. You killed who I could have been. Who we could have been as a family. Jinwoo turned his back on his father. Madam Choi, I formally request permission to leave the organization. I'll transfer all criminal assets to the council for redistribution. I keep only my legitimate businesses. Granted. Effective immediately. Madam Choi stood. As for you, she said to Jinwoo's father, you'll face a formal tribunal next week. Until then, you're under house arrest. If you try to run, we'll hunt you down. If you try to retaliate against your son or his family, we'll kill you slowly. Understood. Jinwoo's father said nothing, his face twisted with rage and defeat, and something that might have been grief. And you? Madam Choi turned to Yuna. The warehouse fire. The council will investigate. If we find evidence you deliberately targeted those workers, you'll face consequences. If it was truly an accident, you'll still face penalties for unauthorized action on council territory. But those are problems for another day. Yuna nodded, accepting her fate. Now all of you get out of my property before I change my mind about being merciful. Madam Choi waved them away. Go. Build your lives. Leave this old world behind. They didn't need to be told twice. If you're still watching, hit that like button right now because this happy ending is finally coming and you've waited 4 episodes for it. But we're not done with the twists yet. 2 weeks later, Yuna's confession. Jinwoo stood on the balcony of a villa in Jeju Island, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold and red. Behind him, he could hear Naomi's grandmother teaching Naomi how to make her famous peach cobbler, their laughter drifting through the open doors like music. You look peaceful, Yuna said, joining him on the balcony. I don't think I've ever seen you look peaceful before. I don't think I've ever been peaceful before. Jinwoo smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. We need to talk about what happened. About the warehouse fire. Yuna's shoulders sagged. I was wondering when you'd bring it up. Did you really not know people were inside? I swear on my life, I didn't know. I'd been watching that warehouse for months. Learned the patterns. The schedules. It was supposed to be empty between midnight and 4 a.m. for cleaning. That's when I set the fire. She gripped the balcony railing. But your father had changed everything 2 days before. Put workers on a night shift without updating any records. He knew I was watching. He set me up. Why didn't you tell me this at the meeting? Because I have no proof. It's my word against his. And even if he did set me up, I still started the fire. I still made the choice to destroy his property. Those people died because of my actions, regardless of his manipulation. Yuna's voice cracked. I've tried to make it right. Found all 15 families. Set up education funds for their children. Paid off their mortgages. Covered medical expenses for the surviving family members. It doesn't bring anyone back, but I had to try. Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. I believe you. But that doesn't make it okay. I know. I'll carry that guilt until the day I die. Good. You should. His voice was harsh but honest. But I also understand. Revenge makes us do terrible things. Makes us become people we never wanted to be. You sound like you're speaking from experience. I almost became him. My father. I was one decision away from letting revenge consume me. Jinwoo looked at Naomi through the window. She saved me from that. Reminded me there was another path. She's special. Hold on to her. I plan to. Which brings me to my next question. Are you planning to stay? Be part of our lives? Or are you going to disappear again? Yuna turned to face him fully. That depends on you. Do you want me to stay? After everything you've learned about me? I want my child to know their grandmother. The real one. Not some perfect fantasy, but the real, flawed, complicated woman who made terrible mistakes, but is trying to be better. Jinwoo met her eyes. Can you be that person? I can try. That's all I can promise. I'll try every day. Then stay. Be part of this family. Help us build something better than what we came from. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. I don't deserve it, but thank you. None of us deserve the grace we're given. We just try to earn it every day. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the waves, both thinking about the past and the future and the narrow path between redemption and damnation. 3 months later, the tribunal. The tribunal was held in a secure location, with representatives from all 12 families present. Jinwoo attended as a witness, though he was no longer part of the organization. He wore a simple suit, nothing flashy, nothing that screamed power or wealth. Just a man telling his truth. His father was brought in wearing simple clothes, his leg healed, but leaving him with a permanent limp. He looked older, diminished, stripped of the arrogance that had defined him for decades. The charges were read. 43 violations of council law. Evidence was presented. The flash drive contents displayed for all to see on large screens that left nothing to imagination. Jinwoo testified about the poisoning plot, the wedding attack, the kidnapping of Naomi's grandmother. His voice was steady, factual, without embellishment or emotion. Yuna testified about the forced separation, the threats against her family, the 25 years of exile. She cried during parts of it, but never looked away from the council members judging her words. Even Yunesio was brought in via video link from her own imprisonment, confirming the details of the murder plot. She looked broken, defeated, nothing like the confident bride who'd walked down that aisle. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, damning in every possible way. The verdict was unanimous. Stripped of all titles, all assets, all protection. Exiled to a small apartment in Busan under constant surveillance. Any attempt to rebuild power would result in immediate execution. Essentially, he was made into a ghost. Alive but powerless. Present but irrelevant. As they led him away, Jinwoo's father looked at his son one last time. You'll regret this. Choosing love over power. It'll make you weak. No, Jinwoo said quietly. It'll make me human. Something you never learned to be. His father had no response to that. After the tribunal, Madame Choi pulled Jinwoo aside. You did well. Testified honestly without vindictiveness. That took strength. I don't feel strong. I feel tired. That's because you've been carrying the weight of his sins along with your own. Time to put that burden down. She handed him an envelope. This is for you. A gift from the council. Consider it severance pay for years of service we've forced upon you. Inside was a bank transfer confirmation. $50 million. I can't accept this. You can and you will. You've earned it. Use it to build that foundation you've been planning. Help people the way you wish someone had helped you. Madame Choi smiled. Besides, it's not charity. It's an investment. We're betting that you'll do more good in the world as a free man than you ever did as one of us. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just live well. That's the best revenge against people who tried to destroy you. 5 months later, the wedding. The wedding was small. Private. Nothing like the disaster that had almost happened months ago. Just family. Naomi's grandmother, Yuna, Kong, and a few trusted friends who'd proven their loyalty through everything. Madame Choi, who'd surprisingly become something of a mentor to both of them. No mafia families. No alliances. No politics. Just people who genuinely cared about them. They got married in a small chapel overlooking the ocean in Jeju Island. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of gold and pink. Naomi wore a simple white dress that cost a fraction of what Yunesio's had cost, but made her look like an angel descended to earth. Jinwoo couldn't stop staring at her as she walked down the aisle on her grandmother's arm. Both women were crying, but smiling through the tears. "You're supposed to wait until I walk down the aisle to look at me like that," Naomi whispered as they stood at the altar. "I can't help it. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Smooth talker. Truth teller. He took her hands. Ready to become Mrs. Park? Ready to become Mrs. Park Washington. Hyphenated. Non-negotiable. I wouldn't have it any other way. The ceremony was perfect. Simple. Real. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Naomi's grandmother stage whispered, "If anyone says something, I'm throwing this shoe at their head." And everyone laughed, breaking the solemnity into something joyful. Jinwoo's vows were simple but profound. "I promise to choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life. No matter what comes. No matter who tries to tear us apart. No matter how hard it gets. I choose you." Naomi's were equally powerful. "I promise to be brave enough to love you. To stay when it's hard. To fight when it matters. To build a life with you that's ours and no one else's. Always." When they kissed, everyone cheered. And for the first time in either of their lives, they felt like they'd finally come home. The reception was held on the beach. No fancy ballroom. No crystal chandeliers. Just lanterns and string lights and sand between their toes and the sound of waves providing the music. "This is perfect," Naomi said, dancing with Jinwoo as the sun set over the ocean. "Everything I never knew I wanted. Better than a 300-person mafia wedding with assassination attempts. So much better." She laughed, though that one was memorable for all the wrong reasons. "We got shot at. I was almost poisoned. You actually got shot, and my supposedly dead mother showed up and shot my father. Yeah, memorable is definitely one word for it. But it led us here, and here is perfect." He pulled her closer, breathing in the scent of her hair, jasmine, and coconut. "Here is perfect." Yuna danced nearby with Kong, who'd proven surprisingly good at ballroom dancing. Naomi's grandmother held court at a table, telling embarrassing stories about Naomi's childhood that made everyone laugh until their sides hurt. "I have something for you," Jinwoo said, pulling a small envelope from his pocket. "What is it? Open it." Inside were 2 plane tickets to Atlanta, and a deed to a house. "What is this?" "I bought your grandmother's house. Paid off the mortgage. Had it completely renovated. New everything. New roof, new plumbing, new electrical, accessible bathroom for her mobility issues, ramps for wheelchair access if she ever needs it. And I'm giving it back to her. Free and clear. No strings attached." Jinwoo smiled. "She raised you. Saved you. She deserves to live out her life in comfort and security." Naomi burst into tears. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. She's family now. And I take care of family. That's what family does." He wiped away her tears gently. "There's more. I've set up a foundation. The Naomi Park Washington Foundation. It provides scholarships for kids who want to go to college but can't afford it. Kids like you were. Kids who have potential but no resources." "Jinwoo, I have more money than I'll ever need. More than we'll ever need. I want to do something good with it. Something that matters. Something you can run if you want. Or we can hire people to run it. Whatever you want. I want to run it. With you." She kissed him, tasting salt from both their tears. "How did I get so lucky? I'm the lucky one. You saved my life. Multiple times. Took a bullet for me. Exposed a murder plot. Loved me when I was unlovable. This is the least I can do." They danced until the stars came out, until the lanterns glowed like fireflies, until Naomi's grandmother announced she was tired and needed her beauty sleep. "Come on, old woman," Yuna said, helping her up with gentle hands. "I'll walk you back. I like you," Naomi's grandmother said, slightly tipsy from champagne. "You've got spirit. Took guts to come back after 25 years. Took stupidity too. But here we are. Here we are indeed. 2 old women who survived impossible things. Now let's leave these lovebirds alone. They've got a wedding night to get to, and I don't need details." After everyone left, Jinwoo and Naomi stayed on the beach, lying in the sand, looking at the stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Thank you, Naomi said quietly. For what? For being brave enough to choose love over duty. For fighting for us when it would have been easier to give up. For being you. Thank you for taking a bullet for me. For exposing a murder plot. For being insane enough to love a mafia boss. Former mafia boss. Right? Former. I keep forgetting. He rolled over to look at her. Do you regret any of it? Not a single second. Even the getting shot part led us here. She touched his face tenderly. I'd do it all again. Every dangerous, terrifying, impossible moment. Because they all led to this. You're insane. Probably. But you love me anyway. I really, really do. They kissed under the stars. Two people who'd found each other against all odds and refused to let go, no matter what the world threw at them. 6 months later, the foundation launch. Naomi stood in front of a classroom of 30 teenagers in Seoul, all scholarship recipients from the foundation. The first cohort. The beginning of something bigger than either of them had imagined. My name is Naomi Park Washington. 6 years ago, I was cleaning houses to pay my grandmother's medical bills. I dropped out of nursing school because I couldn't afford it. I thought my dreams were dead. I thought I'd spend the rest of my life invisible, unimportant, forgotten. She smiled at the students. I was wrong. Dreams don't die. They just wait for the right moment. For the right person to believe in them. How did you do it? One student asked, a girl who reminded Naomi of herself at that age. How did you go from maid to running a foundation? I met someone who believed in me, who saw potential I couldn't see in myself, who invested in my dreams when no one else would. She looked at Jin-woo, who was watching from the back of the room with pride in his eyes. But more importantly, I learned that your circumstances don't define your worth. Where you come from doesn't determine where you're going. And love, real love, is worth fighting for, even when everyone tells you it's impossible. The students applauded enthusiastically. After class, Jin-woo walked her to their car. That was beautiful. You're going to change lives. We're going to change lives. This is ours. Together. She leaned against him. I'm happy, Jin-woo. Really, truly happy. Are you? More than I ever thought possible. He kissed the top of her head. I got the test results back today. Naomi's heart skipped. They'd been trying for 3 months. And, positive, we're having a baby. She spun to face him, tears already forming in her eyes. Really? We're really, you're pregnant. He was crying too, laughing and crying at the same time. We're going to be parents. She kissed him, poured every ounce of joy and love and hope into that kiss. Right there in the parking lot, not caring who saw. Our child is going to have the most insane origin story, she said, laughing through tears. They're going to think we're making it up when we tell them. We'll have to show them the news articles about the wedding attack and explain why their grandmother shot their grandfather and why mommy took a bullet for daddy. Normal family stuff. He pulled her close, his hand already moving protectively to her still flat stomach. But they'll also know they were wanted, loved, fought for, that their parents chose love over everything else. That's a pretty good origin story. The best. They drove home to the house they'd built together in a quiet neighborhood in Seoul. Not a mansion, not a penthouse. Just a comfortable home filled with photographs and laughter and possibility. Yuna was there, having dinner with Naomi's grandmother. The two women had become unlikely best friends, bonding over their shared experience of raising stubborn children and surviving impossible circumstances. We have news, Naomi announced, unable to keep the smile off her face. Both women looked up, and immediately their faces lit up with knowing. You're pregnant. Naomi's grandmother squealed, jumping up with surprising agility for a 73-year-old. I knew it. I saw you turning green at breakfast last week and refusing coffee. You didn't think to mention it? Naomi asked, laughing. And ruin your announcement? Please. I was raised better than that. Let you have your moment. Yuna hugged them both, tears streaming down her face. I'm going to be a grandmother. A real grandmother this time. Not a distant observer watching through binoculars and newspaper clippings. You're going to spoil this child absolutely rotten, Jin-woo warned, but he was smiling. Absolutely. That's what grandmothers are for. Making up for lost time. They celebrated with dinner and stories and plans for the future. Paint colors for the nursery. Name possibilities. Whether they wanted to know the gender or be surprised. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, Jin-woo and Naomi sat on their back porch under the stars, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. Are you scared? He asked quietly. Terrified, but in a good way, an excited way. She covered his hand with hers. We're really doing this. Building a family. A real family. Nothing like the family I grew up in. Nothing like either of our families. We're making something new. Something better. Something built on choice and love instead of obligation and fear. Something worth everything we went through to get here. Exactly. They sat in comfortable silence, imagining the future. A baby. Then maybe another. Birthday parties and school plays and scraped knees and teenage rebellion and college graduations and grandchildren of their own someday. A whole life stretching ahead of them. Ordinary and extraordinary. Simple and profound. Everything they'd fought for. Everything they'd survived for. We did it. Naomi whispered into the darkness. We actually did it. We did. Jinwoo kissed her temple. We survived impossible odds, defeated our enemies, built something beautiful from the ashes, and got our happy ending. Sounds like a fairy tale when you say it like that. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what love does. Turns impossible situations into fairy tales with happy endings. Pretty sure fairy tales have fewer gunfights and assassination attempts and family drama. Ours is a modern fairy tale, with body armor and escape plans and complicated mothers-in-law. She laughed, the sound pure and joyful. I wouldn't change a single thing. Not even the part where you got shot. Okay, maybe that part. That part sucked. But everything else? Perfect. They stayed there until the stars wheeled overhead. Two people who'd found each other in the most impossible circumstances and built something beautiful from the wreckage of what came before. And somewhere in Seoul, in a small apartment in Busan, Jinwoo's father sat alone in the darkness, watching them from a distance through social media posts about their foundation, their wedding, their happiness, their future. He'd lost everything. His empire, his son, his power, his legacy, his future, all because he'd chosen control over love, power over family, fear over trust, and he'd die alone, with that regret eating him alive every single day. But Jinwoo and Naomi, they'd live, really live, with love and joy and a future that was entirely their own creation. 9 months later, the birth. The baby came 3 weeks early, in the middle of the night, with Naomi's water breaking all over their bedroom floor. This is it, she said, surprisingly calm despite the pain. This is really happening. This is really happening. Jinwoo repeated, not calm at all, running around grabbing bags they'd packed weeks ago. Okay, hospital. We need to get to the hospital. Where are my keys? Why can't I find my keys? They're in your hand, baby. Right. Okay, let's go. The drive was a blur. Jinwoo called Yuna and Naomi's grandmother on the way. Both women promised to meet them at the hospital immediately. 12 hours of labor. 12 hours of Jinwoo holding Naomi's hand while she squeezed hard enough to break bones. 12 hours of breathing exercises and ice chips and epidurals and pushing. And then, finally, a cry. Their daughter entered the world screaming her displeasure at the cold air and bright lights. Perfect and furious and beautiful. She's perfect, Naomi sobbed, holding their baby for the first time. Look at her. She's perfect. She's perfect. Jinwoo agreed, crying openly without shame. We made that. We made a whole person. What should we name her? Naomi asked, looking down at their daughter's scrunched up face. They'd had a list of possibilities, but looking at their daughter now, only one name felt right. Hope, Jinwoo said. Her name is Hope, because that's what she is. Proof that hope survives. That love wins. That we can build something beautiful even when the world tries to destroy us. Hope Park, Washington, Naomi said, testing the name. I love it. It's perfect. Welcome to the world, Hope. Jinwoo whispered to his daughter, touching her tiny hand with one finger. We've been waiting for you. Later, when Yuna and Naomi's grandmother arrived, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. She looks just like you did as a baby, Yuna told Jinwoo, touching Hope's tiny hand with reverent gentleness. Same nose. Same eyes. It's like getting a second chance. That's exactly what this is, Jinwoo said. A second chance. For all of us. They stayed in the hospital for 2 days, learning how to be parents, figuring out feeding schedules and diaper changes, and the specific cry that meant hungry versus tired versus just generally displeased with existence. And through it all, Jinwoo and Naomi looked at each other with the same thought. We made it. We survived everything and made it here. Together. 1 year later, Hope's first birthday. The backyard was filled with balloons and laughter, and more people than Jinwoo had ever allowed in his personal space before. Scholarship students from the foundation. Their families. Kong and his wife. Madam Choi, who'd become an honorary aunt to Hope. Yuna and Naomi's grandmother, who co-hosted with the efficiency of a military operation. Hope toddled around in a princess dress, smearing birthday cake on everything she touched, laughing with pure joy at the chaos she created. "She's got your stubbornness," Jinwoo said, watching their daughter refuse to let anyone wipe her hands clean. "And your determination," Naomi countered. "Look at her. She knows what she wants and won't take no for an answer. We're in so much trouble when she's a teenager. So much trouble." They watched Hope discover the joy of opening presents with help from the other children, her delighted squeals making everyone smile. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Naomi asked. "Feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago at the same time." Jinwoo pulled her close. "Thank you." "For what?" "For saying yes. For taking that bullet. For choosing us. For giving me hope. For everything. Thank you for being worth it. For being brave enough to change. For building this life with me." They kissed, soft and sweet, while their daughter destroyed wrapping paper with enthusiastic determination. "What do you think?" Jinwoo asked. "Ready for another one?" Naomi laughed. "Let's survive the terrible twos first. Then we'll talk about siblings." "Deal." As the sun set on Hope's first birthday party, as their family and friends gathered around to sing one more round of Happy Birthday, Jinwoo looked around at everything they'd built. A foundation changing lives. A daughter full of joy and possibility. A wife who'd fought through hell to stand beside him. A mother who'd found her way back after 25 years. A grandmother-in-law who treated him like her own grandson. A family. A real family. Built not on blood and obligation, but on choice and love. This was happiness. Real, messy, imperfect, beautiful happiness. And he'd fight to protect it for the rest of his life. The end. All right, fam, that's the end. The real end. Jinwoo and Naomi got their happy ending. Baby Hope just celebrated her first birthday. The foundation is changing lives across Korea. Yuna is being the grandmother she never got to be. Naomi's grandmother is safe, healthy, and happy. And they built a life that's completely, perfectly, beautifully theirs. If you made it through all four parts, through every twist and turn and near-death experience, you're real ones. You've been with this story since Naomi whispered, "We shouldn't be doing this," in that dressing room. Through poisoning plots and wedding attacks and rescue missions and family revelations and finally, to this happy ending with birthday cake and laughter. Hit that subscribe button one final time because I've got another story dropping next that's going to make this one look like a warm-up. It's going to be suspense-filled. It's going to be twisted. It's going to be a revenge story and a love story and a tragedy all wrapped into one. And it's going to be a story that'll rip your heart out and make you question everything you think you know about love and revenge and redemption and whether some sins can ever truly be forgiven. Drop next video in the comments if you want that story next. Hit that like button to show me you love this series. And subscribe to True Soul Stories because we're just getting started. This was just the beginning. I've got dozens more stories planned, each one more intense than the last. This was We Shouldn't Be Doing This, and it was one hell of a ride. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Jinwoo and Naomi and their impossible love story that somehow found its happy ending. See you in the next story, if you're ready for it. In part 4, the final chapter.